Hello guys, I'm Swastik Sharma and today I will be talking about Raspberry Pi and when you should be using it. So let's go. Raspberry Pi is a credit card sized computer that can cost as little as $5 and it has a huge community of amateur developers and hardware hackers. The Raspberry Pi can do a lot despite its low cost. It can be used as a personal computer, or it can be used as an institute computer, or it can be used as a server for your own IoT project. There are multiple Raspberry Pi boards right now in the market, but the first Raspberry Pi board that was created by the developers in United Kingdom was created with the intent to provide cheap alternatives to full-fledged computers in the institutes. Basically, the Raspberry Pi boards can do everything that a normal school computer can. You can use Paint in it, you can make presentations in it, you can connect external hard drives, you can connect it to a display, you can do everything with a normal Raspberry Pi board. And that's why they are a good alternative to school computers. Although most of the school computers run on Windows, the Raspberry Pi runs on a specific distribution of Linux. This specific distribution of Linux is called Raspbian, and it is created by the open source community of Raspberry Pi. A normal personal computer can run many kinds of operating systems, and the same goes with Raspberry Pi. It can run many kinds of operating systems that are created by the community. Even Microsoft has created their own operating system for Raspberry Pi. It's called Windows 10 IoT Core. The latest addition in the Raspberry Pi lineup is the Raspberry Pi 4 Model B. Whenever a new Raspberry Pi board is created, a ton of new features are added. The Raspberry Pi boards even have some pins. These pins are called general purpose input output pins, and you can connect external hardware to those pins. These pins can be used to control external hardware, and they can be used to connect some modules to the pins. The modules can be created by Raspberry Pi or can be created by the open source community. These modules are called Raspberry Pi hats. There are many alternatives to Raspberry Pi, such as the NVIDIA Jetson series or the Asus Tinkerboard series, but none of them have a community as big as Raspberry Pis. Now the main question, where should you be using Raspberry Pi? So the answer is very open. You can use Raspberry Pi in literally every field. There are modifications made by the open source community for Raspberry Pi so that the Raspberry Pi can be used in every field. Just make sure that the field does not require too much processing power because the Raspberry Pi does not have a lot of processing power. People even mine Bitcoin with Raspberry Pi. Although it's not much, but it can mine some Bitcoin. You just need to make sure that you don't require too much processing power. You can use Raspberry Pi to create your own IoT projects, or to learn programming languages, or to use various kinds of emulators for different consoles on Raspberry Pi. Yes, there are a lot of emulators available for Raspberry Pi. You know so much about Raspberry Pi now. If you like this video, do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to our channel for more informative content that we'll be uploading in the future. Thank you.